Sisters all in unity, we shall come in the morning. We shall come to you. All shall come in the morning. All shall come in the morning soon. All shall come in the morning. All shall come to you. Take this pain from my life. Open my heart to peace and light. All shall come in the morning. All shall come to you.
Joy and peace and hope. We may start every day however we choose. And I think it's that awareness of choice can change your whole day and the day of those around you. When you wake up, what do you see? What do you feel? You feel joy and peace and hope? Or maybe you look in the mirror at first, I don't know, get scared. Happens to me almost every day. Joy. I think that's one of my most favorite words. It's being aware that we always have the choice of how we choose to feel, of how we choose things. I'm going to talk a lot about that today. But I'm going to share a little joy that I have. We've been wanting to do something for a very long time. And thanks to the hours and hours of labor donated by Ward Johnson, we are streaming right now. We are live on YouTube as we speak. So if I make any mistakes, it's there forever. So here we are. We are alive, having joy in the presence of the entire universe on YouTube. And right here on the corner of West Sierra and Page, Kentucky. That's wow. And what we have to share, our joy, our peace, and our hope, we can share it with the whole world in real time. And it's all right here in this very room. Let's stand up and sing in this very room.
very room, in this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to reach the Lord's earth. Oh, Spirit, divine Spirit, is in this very room.
This is incredible. The first time we're live throughout the world, and I messed it up from the get-go. From the very beginning, I messed it all up. So sit down. Everybody just sit down. We're going to go backwards. Kelly, how about a mini message from Kelly? Let's give Kelly a hand as she comes forward. I can't believe it.
Good morning. I read that to keep a dwarfed bonsai tree healthy in a dish, one must cut back the cramped roots and replant the tree in fresh soil every now and then. Since the tree is confined in a small container and the roots are cut back to prevent expansion, the bonsai tree remains small. We too will remain at our smallest if we become root-bound in our own containments of comfort and cut back ideas that would expand us. Our growth stops when we allow routines to become ruts, ideas to become set, or when we allow others to tell us what to believe, how to think, and act. Then we are like the bonsai tree, an expression of limits. When I see a bonsai tree in a pretty painted ceramic dish, I am intrigued by its perfectly proportional stunted size, but also sad that it's not growing to its full, larger potential in a wild field of grass, weeds, flowers, rocks, worms, insects, storms, and sunshine. In a field where it can spread out its roots and limbs and continue to grow, where it can experience a variety of conditions and become its greatest self. Now, my question is this: how can this metaphor, comparing a tiny controlled tree in a safe container, compared with a towering tree in an open, unpredictable field, be applied to your spiritual curiosity?
Oh, thank you, Kelly. That's quite a question. Thank you. Well, I'm not sure how to proceed because it's just. But actually, I'm going to share with you something. I did that quite intentionally because I'm sure all of you think that I'm almost perfect. And I just wanted you to be sure to be aware that actually I have a flaw or two and can sometimes make something that could be considered as a mistake. So just so you know. Well, good morning and welcome to all of you. And we're glad to see you. This is our third day back again. Our beautiful flowers this morning are a combined effort from several people. But these right here are actually gifted from Vivian. And she is, for those of you who don't know, she's in the hospital right now. And she was to receive those in the hospital, and she asked that they just be brought here instead. So I think that's very cool. Vivian is fine. She cracked her femur just below where she had had a hip replacement about 20 years ago. So Donna is here, her daughter is here, everything's fine. She's not she can't leave right now, or she got a 95th birthday on Thursday, so she's got to get ready for that. So anyway, but thank all of you for your phone calls to her. She's going crazy in the hospital. So if you want to call her, her extension is 82216. And the number is 525-5300. 525-5300, extension 82216. I memorized that. Let me see. Flowers, Vivian. I already thanked Ward. See, I got it all out of. We're getting ready to stream the video up on YouTube. Wednesday night. Talk about Wednesday night a little bit.
Wednesday night, we've resumed meeting. For right now, we're meeting over there, but if the 12th step that normally rents the space comes back, we'll meet in this room. But it was wonderful. Several people showed up. Some of the folks kind of missed the announcement last week. That's okay, or we got so excited being together. But we will continue meeting on Wednesday, and should my work mess it up, we'll do that. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. So hope to see you then.
All right, thank you. And Thursday morning's coming up this Thursday, is that not correct?
Yeah, if it's the 27th, is it the 27th?
Yep.
Okay, so the women's group has resumed, or is going to resume, on Thursday the 27th at 10 a.m., also in the hall.
In the hall. Okay, that's wonderful. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? All right. Ananda, would you care to come down here? Up here? All right. Oh, kind of a squat, dude. How you are?
Good.
Good. Good. Well, I'm excellent. I mean, look, I get better looking almost every second. I'm a joy to be around. Even when I make mistakes, it's wonderful. So what do you got on your mind today?
Oh, well, I'm going to see a friend later today, so that's cool.
You're going to see a friend later? Okay.
He lives on a farm, so.
He lives on a farm?
Besides that, let's see, my environmental club is going pretty well. We decided to do something over the summer.
Okay.
So,
What's that?
like a beach cleanup, and also trying to, and during the school year, next year, we're going to try to educate other schools about like climate change and like politics or not really politics, but the politics around climate change.
Okay.
And then let them, if they want to do a club of their own and try to start stuff, we can help them with that. They help, and that's cool.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Not really. Although, when I was sitting over there just looking out on this room, there's a bunch of little golden raindrops, but they were really thin, and if you looked at them too hard, they started going in another direction. Like
Wow. I'm gonna go sit where he's sitting. So if you move back there, you'll get your money's worth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So have you got, I'm just very proud that you are doing what you feel you need to do about our climate, our community, your life, our lives. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. And thank you for being here today, Ananda.
Yeah,
Oh.
being here.
And thank you for ringing the bell.
Yeah, great.
Okay, now, we sang in this very room. But I think, let's sing the first verse again. And then we will greet each other. Shall we do that? Sure. All right, in this very room, stand up. Okay, now, comfortable. And if you're comfortable with namaste, stay back. That's fine. If you want to hug and swat spit, that's fine too. It's up to you folks.
Oh, Lordy. Hello.
You just turned around now. You're watching me talk. That's cool.
Ecstasy that comes singing together all the people, which is embraced in New York. And this is a volunteer, the choir is volunteer, and people say, gig of all. And it's far better. The volunteer choir at perfect harmony. And the last name was Farn. I was down in Petaluma where they always book kiosks. They're so
Kelly just raised a very interesting point to me. She just said,
Oh, I thought you
were we
the two.
live streaming on YouTube when you gave everyone Vivian's phone number? Vivian could theoretically get 4 or 5 million calls. Actually, if the whole world was watching, 4 or 5 billion calls wouldn't be out of the realm of imagination. And that's what we're here about, is imagination and possibility. So we're putting it out there for sure. So anyway, let's read together our affirmation of abundance. When we transform abundance and prosperity from a perception to a consciousness, our lives will be enriched beyond any definition of tangible value. We will be that abundance and prosperity. May we ponder that collectively for a moment. Thank you, Debbie. And I would like to also thank Debbie for coming every Sunday this month, all the way from Oakmont, because Wayne is out of town. And the same to Kelly, giving the mini message every single Sunday this month. Thank you both very much. As we prepare ourselves for our practice, let's sing together In the Stillness, number 97 in the Wings.
Yes, thank you, Debbie. I love your music so much. And I also love these flowers. Thank you to my two sweeties for bringing many of them. So, kind of continuing on a theme with this week's practice, there seems to be such a great need in the world to return to wholeness within. And one way I've done that before that I really feel called to share today is by bringing together the divine masculine and the divine feminine within us into one. And so I'm going to lead you through a guided meditation this morning to do just that. So I invite you to just take a couple of deep breaths and really center yourself as you normally would for meditation. And we're actually going to journey together to a beautiful field, perhaps the field where that bonsai tree that Kelly was speaking of is replanted and allowed to reach its full potential following the divine blueprint it carries within to become the fully developed whole tree that it was always meant to be. Let's imagine ourselves coming now together in that field in a circle with a little space between us, a few feet, enough to kind of hold hands stretched out, because what's going to happen now is you're going to notice on your right side this column of beautiful pearly white light. And this white light represents the frequency of the divine masculine. If you put your hand into this column now, in your mind's eye, or you can even do it physically if you like, you can feel what this frequency contains, some of the qualities that we might associate with the divine masculine. There's a strength, a clarity, a perseverance. Some of them are hard to name, but just feel those qualities and tune in with that color. It's a bright, pearly white color. And just notice what that feels like. Divine masculine in balance. Now you'll notice, looking to your left side, a rich, vibrant crimson color in a column to your left. This is the color of the divine feminine, like a nurturing red earth. There's also great power in this, but it's not so much a structural power as it is the power of a river in flood. There's this nurturing, this life force energy that you can touch from that. And I will actually, at this time, invite you to physically reach out your right hand into the beam of white, divine masculine light, and physically reach out your left hand into the beam of vibrant, red, divine feminine light. And feeling those both, taking a deep breath as you're ready, just imagine, well, actually, literally bring your hands together to your heart. And as you do so, imagine you're pulling those energies together down your central column. They'll twine together almost like a candy cane, bringing that felt experience of balance between masculine and feminine to your awareness. And just as you sit with that right now, ask yourself, what would it look like? What would it feel like to walk through the world like this? Secure in the knowledge that this wholeness is who you are, can never be harmed or taken away in any form. For you are whole, now and always. When you're ready, return to the room. Thank you.
Natalie, thank you very much. What does it say I'm going to talk about today? Smiles lubricate every transaction of life. As we go through life and we practice our awareness, and we think about what is our purpose in this life experience, there's probably not one person here whose purpose is to change the world. Maybe me, but most of us not. Most of us aren't going to save humanity. We can all be conscientious in our actions. But I think to get through this life, that as we look around the whole world, there's a lot of heartbreaking, suffering, ugly things. And if that's all we can focus on, life gets pretty exhausting. We have the, I think, responsibility to live life in joy, to make this experience as enjoyable, enriching, valuable, satisfactory, satisfying as we can. And I think having a sense of humor, thinking about sense of humor, identifying it, being aware that we have such a thing within us can help us enjoy our life experience more. Gandhi said if it weren't for his sense of humor, he would have committed suicide before he was 30. We all come in contact with a lot of pretty heavy, tough, dark things. And we can stay there if we choose or get stuck in. But I think it's that laughing, that sense of humor, that joy that kind of gives us the motivation to go on. We've come through a pretty ugly year and a half. However, had somebody told me 5 years ago that I could put on a mask and walk into a bank, ask for money, and they hand it to me and say, see you again next week? I just don't know what I could. I never would have believed that. But that's how it's worked out. And this social distancing thing, while it may be inconvenient, sure taught me who I enjoy spending time with and who I don't, and gave me the opportunity to kind of work on that and work out a little plan about that. You know, we've all had, conditioning and training. We have a gazillion beliefs we don't even know that we have a lot of times. For instance, probably very few people in here believe in like going up to heaven, and there's a set of pearly gates, and there's St. Pete, and he's the greeter dude for heaven, and you got to talk to him to get in. Although, when I say, this guy died and went to heaven, and he's standing at the pearly gates, and there's St. Pete, every one of us has a picture of what that is in our head. Every one of us has developed that picture over time, and it's usually attached to something that's funny. And today is no different. This guy shows up, and St. Peter said, you aren't on the list. Can I help you? He said, yeah, my name's Leroy, and I'd like to come in. Well, wow, you aren't on the list. Everybody's always on the list. Well, let me go talk to God. So he goes around the corner to God's office. He said, God, some guy named Leroy out there, he's not on the list, but he wants to come into heaven. What do I do? And I said, well, Pete, why don't you ask him what good things he's done in his life? All right. So Pete goes back out and said, God says you're supposed to tell me what you've done that's good in your life. Guy thinks for a while. He said, well, I was downtown walking, and this dirty old man smelled horrible. Walked by me and asked me if I had any change. And I just gave him a buck. I gave him a buck. Okay. Yep, that's what I did. That's all, I think. So Pete goes in and says, God, he said he gave an old guy asking for some change, and he gave him a buck. I said, that's it. God said, go ask him if he's done maybe something else. So he went back out to Leroy. He said, Leroy, have you done anything else good? He said, yeah, while you was gone, I remember. I was pulling into McDonald's, and there was this little old lady standing there with a sign, hungry, please help. He said, I gave her a buck. He said, that's it? Yep. So Pete goes back and he said, God, he said there was a lady with a sign, hungry, please help, standing by McDonald's, and he gave her a buck. What should I do? I said, well, actually, I think, why don't you give him his $2 back and tell him to go to hell? We can find humor any place we choose. Any place we choose. Every situation that we encounter in life has a plus and a minus to it. Everything's plus and minus. The good news and the bad news. The yin and the yang, all the energies. The masculine and the feminine. Everything has two sides. Every story has two sides. And most of us, as individuals, have actually several sides. Some of us have a lot of sides. But we do have that choice to look at the bright side, to try to find humor in a situation rather than disgust. It's like Natalie and I were having a discussion a while back. We were talking about dreams. And I told her I took a course it's no mistake about dreams once. And at the end of that course, it was just it wasn't like a college course, it was just an adult education extra kind of course. And at the end of it, we were to give an oral summation of what we learned in the course. I got an A because I talked about how these dreams, they're a wonderful mystery, because while there are so many theories about where dreams come from, why they happen, what they mean and don't mean, nobody really knows, because they come from unseen energy. Maybe they're a remembrance of the past. Maybe they are the manifestation of a desire or a fantasy or a disappointment. Maybe they are from an unyet thought about expectation for the future. Maybe they are from energy from the future that we aren't even aware of. But I learned something. In studying dreams, I learned something, and I'm going to share it with all of you. When you are dreaming, if you see a toilet, do not use it. It never works out well, ever. Trust me on this. This is like, I'm not trying to be a stand-up comedy, folks. I'm trying to let us know that every one of us can turn anything into something that can have a light side, a bright side. Every one of us can look for the crap or look for the pony. That's Vivian's line. She sees a pile of manure, she sees it, she's looking for the pony. We can do that. Our future. It can be rocky, not real great, tough, or it could be fun. I was at a memorial about a year ago, and the guy said, this fellow's name, Tom or George, he said, he always was so disappointed that he never made big money. He never looked at himself as a success. But he said, this man was the definition of how fun being poor can be. He always had fun. He looked at life with fun. Always. I once knew a paper salesman in San Francisco. Wards and Susan are printers. And if you are a printer, one of the most unwelcome calls you can have on any particular day is from a paper salesman, because they want to come in and they want you to buy paper from them. And there's one paper salesman I will never forget. He was the top seller of paper in San Francisco, no matter what company he worked for, and he worked for most of them. But his name was Bob McConnell. And the first time I ever met Bob McConnell, he walked in, I was plant manager for VIP Lithto. He walked in, he said, "I'm Bob McConnell from Unisource." And he said, "That's Bob with one O." And that's the way he greeted his people. He walked in and got you to laugh from the get-go. And every time he saw Bob McConnell, that's Bob with one O. He reminded you of that. He'd always have something else that he could give you to make you enjoy that moment, that interaction, that, what did I call it? Or transaction. He gave you that smile that made that transaction not only effective, but enjoyable. Every one of us can do that, my friends. Every single one of us. So, what do you think? What do you think about tomorrow? I think you should all call Vivian like 8 times. I just do. And there's a reason for that. Thank you all for being the Bob McConnells in my life. Every one of you. When I walk in the door, every one of you smiles at me, has something complimentary to say, has something joyous to say. Thank you. Thank you. And so it is. It is a wonderful world. Let's sing "What a Wonderful World," shall we?
I see them for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Ocean skies are blue, clouds are white, a blessed day, dark summer night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbows written in the sky are also faces of people around and see friends and how do you do? They're only singing, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Amen, baby.